All right. Coming up next is Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction with MrLlamaSC.
Are we good? Yeah? Okay, perfect. All right, welcome everybody. My name is MrLlamaSC. I speedrun Diablo 2, and today we're going to be doing an any percent Sorceress run. And I don't know if you guys caught that last Dark Souls 3 run. It was awesome, and there was some customization to create a Fiona character. And Diablo 2, while a bit older, has some customization as well. So we're going to make a Fiona character as well. There we go. There we go. All right. So timer will just be on my count. If you guys are good. Yep. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
Good day.
So the Sorceress is one of my favorite characters to speedrun. It is the fastest character in the game, and it actually has a very interesting history. Right now I'm just going to try and get some sort of gold along the way here while leveling to level 2, and then of course completing the Den of Evil for a skill, and then a reset of my skill points, which I will be using later. So far we have not found anything of use. So if we don't find anything by the end of Blood More, it's not going to be fun. We'll just have to see how it goes from there. In the previous runs, usually something has dropped, but we are really lacking on gold right now. So usually I'm looking for throwing knives, I'm looking for an amulet, I'm looking for rings, jewels, chip gems, all sorts of good stuff. But it is pretty bare out here so far. So something that I do want to talk about, like I said, she's a very different run than the other characters. All the other characters pretty much run through the game in a very similar manner, right? They're going to just level up as they go on and then get to the end of the game, and they just have to run through every area there. But the Sorceress has teleport, and that actually really speeds the game up. And it actually gets, okay, we've got gold there, we'll be fine. That actually really changes the game because you're able to just kind of teleport through everything, and it gets a little bit ridiculous, but it's really fun. So you'll still see Act 1 and Act 2 pretty similarly, but then Act 3, 4, and 5 are just going to really kind of speed past. And we did get +1 to charge bolt right there as well, which is very, very nice. That's just going to be a little bit of an extra boost for us. So at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and do this Den of Evil. Like I said before, this gets a skill point for us. And additionally, it will also allow us to respec our skills, which is what it's called, which means later on we'll just be able to go over there and completely change my build, essentially. So I start out with Charged Bolt, and then at some point in the run, I will switch into Nova. So one thing, and this is something, it's actually been very interesting, and I'd love to do like a history of this speedrun while we kind of race here, because it is a lot of fun. And it actually has a lot of variety to it. And I also want to make sure I don't miss any monsters in this den, so I'm going to be a little bit slower to try and be safer with it. And then I'll still probably miss one anyways, because that's how the game goes, right, in a marathon. But the Sorceress started out, and this is actually the character that got me into the game. I watched a runner, Nightfall X, shout out to him, running the Sorceress, and he ran it in about an hour and 50 minutes or something, and that was the world record at that time. And I thought, wow, I think I could do that. And it's one of those things where Diablo 2 is a little bit of a tricky hard, right? It's not a run where you just simply, I mean, you watch it and you're like, oh, it doesn't look too bad. And then you get in there and you're like, wow, these controls are terrible. The game runs at 25 FPS, or 24 and then hidden 1. There is a lot of like hit recovery and cast rate and things that are just slow, but they don't visually look too slow. It's not until you feel them when you're playing it that you're like, oh, that's why that person didn't move out of the way to dodge that. It's because they were just stuck right there. So I thought I could do it. I studied up, I practiced, or I practiced my memorization of maps and things like that as best as I could. And I ran my first run, and it was 4.5 hours. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is not exactly what I was expecting. And so at that point, it was kind of a, do I continue or do I change it up and do something different? But I decided to keep going with it and slowly worked my times down. So the history of the run. At that point, the world record was like 156. I believe he was even doing some strategies involving like firebolt and things like that. It was a very, very, very different run from what you would see today. And then at the time, myself and another runner, Teo1904, came in and decided to really start kind of grinding the game to try and get a little bit better times there. And so we slowly worked it down, and we got to like 145, and then we got to like 140. And all of the while we were doing different things. And as we were getting better, things were changing as well. So right now you're seeing the latest version of the strats, which is I'm literally just spamming mass charge bolts and all vitality. Before we used to be like, oh, maybe it'll be good to get earlier mana. Maybe it'll be good to get, or some energy earlier, right? It'll be good to get Frost Nova because we weren't good enough. So Frost Nova kind of slows down monsters so they can't hit you as well. And then eventually it was just like, no, like we just got good enough that it was like, okay, we just need to forget everything that we've been thinking and go into these mass damage and then also mass life strats. And the reason for the mass life is because of the hit recovery that I was talking about before. So if your character loses 1/12 of their life or more, or maybe it's just more than 1/12, they will go into hit recovery, and then they have to recover and before they can move on and do anything. And so it kind of became a big deal later on when the character was taking a lot of damage. It was like anytime she was getting hit, she was going into hit recovery. And there were a lot of instances where just having, 10 more health or whatever it is would have saved her. So, or kept her from being stunned and sped up the run. So that's something that we kind of all figured out and decided, was kind of best. Or I would say we watched each other play and said, oh, okay, well, he's doing that strat, and that seems to be, a little bit more effective. And then copied, right? And just kept copying from each other as we whittled the time down. So the last time I ran a Sorceress at a GDQ, I believe was a 1.5 years ago, roughly. And we got an experience from it, which is really, really nice. That's going to help us get some nice experience here, which is a huge factor, especially in this run. So that was like a big deal. Was figuring that stuff out. Additionally, our map knowledge got better. We started really looking at patterns on the maps and identifying earlier turnarounds and just all sorts of things. And so yeah, so the last time I was here, I think I had a goal time of like 145. And my PB time was probably around 122, 123, I would imagine, something along those lines. And then since then, there's been more running, lots more learning, lots more changes in the strategies, right? Going from shifting into earlier Nova. We used to do that earlier. Now, instead just saying, we're just going to go charge bolt all the way. There's more shopping to find an item like a plus to charge bolt item. Except, in this case, I just have it, so because I found it, so I got a little lucky there. And strategies like that. And my favorite moment was when I was running, not my favorite, but it's a funny moment. I was running for the record, and I believe Teo had set the record down to like 117 or something. And we never thought it would go sub 120. That was like the craziest run in the world. 118 maybe. And I was on pace for like a minute world record. And I got to the very final boss, Act 5 Hell, in the throne room. So literally about a minute and a half away. World record was pretty much guaranteed. And I was like, all right, just don't mess it up. Don't mess it up. And so I made sure I set my TP, so just in case something happened, I'd still be fine. TP Town Portal, everything like that. And I get right there, and I accidentally save quit the game. And the world record disappeared right in front of my eyes. And I tell it as a funny favorite story because I ended up getting the record like 3 days later, so it wasn't so bad. And we do pick up this armor right here. Normally it doesn't matter too much, but people get really grumpy with me if I don't pick up set items and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and pick that up. So at this point, we are in the Black Marsh. By the way, the world record has since moved down. My PB is now 114 something, and the world record is 112.36, held by MrLlamaSC. So it has gotten to this craziest point where, I am just astounded at how fast it goes. And our goal run right now is to break 110. We want to get the 109. That is the dream run. So trying for that, but obviously there's still a little bit of ways to go right there. So some reasoning around all of that is, you might be saying, why is there such a discrepancy? Why is it, you know, okay, the world record's 112, you have 114. You set a 130 time at this GDQ, and you're not even sure if you're going to make that. The reasoning for that is because of simply the RNG in this game. Everything that you're seeing is either procedurally generated maps, random spawns of monsters, random item drops, every single thing that you can pretty much imagine in this game, right? It's just an ARPG, is random. And so it just creates a really difficult scenario because if we're just trying to piece together and say, okay, well, best, you know, we should look over here, or I should be checking for this, or have this sort of, you know, maybe the map should lead to this, but it doesn't always. And so there's a lot of reset stuff. There's a lot of stuff that simply is just going to mess with you and just say, okay, well, you played everything perfectly, and your run's just not going to be great. So for some people, that's frustrating. I like to think it's exciting, unlike archers in the tower. Also right there, I'm going to go ahead and set these orbs for you guys because it's more fun to see my health. Also right there, you did see a river map, which is why I was like really scared for a second, because river maps are awful. Basically what happens is the Black Marsh is a very important map because I'm going to be farming this tower over and over and over again. Hopefully not too many times. But I need Tal and Eth runes. Ral, Tier runes are also great. But Tal and Eth rune can combine together in an armor to make what's called a stealth rune word. And it gives me faster run walk, it gives me hit recovery, it gives me faster cast rate, and it is just wonderful. So I'm going to definitely try for that. If we get to like some crazy point in the game and I'm just still here and I don't have it, I might move on and just do some crazy stuff. And at that point, the run's going to be a lot harder, but maybe more fun for you guys to watch or something. So far, the boss groups have been decent. The maps have been decent down here. Not a huge fan of archers, for sure. As you can see, things that can group up like this are a lot more favorable. But I'm just trying to move through. So in addition to getting runes while I'm down here, the other thing that you need to always be thinking about with this game is your experience. Where are you getting experience? How much experience are you getting? You know, what are you killing? Stuff like that. So I want to be focusing on these boss groups because boss groups are worth a lot of experience. Kind of plain and simple as that. So that's definitely like a big focus for me. But additionally, there's level minimums and maximums, essentially, or scales, I should say, for how much experience I can gain. So if I kill something that's too weak, I don't get much experience because there's a penalty. If I kill something that's too strong, I don't get much experience because there's a penalty. So you're kind of always trying to stay in the right zones and kill stuff within a certain range of your experience, or your level, I should say. And so that's our first check right there. I don't think I have any shrines either to check. So this isn't the best map. If I was trying for a world record, we would have reset this as soon as I hit this river pretty much. But it's not the worst either. The worst is when the bridge is right here on the river, where my mouse is. The waypoint's right here, and or like right over there, and then the tower's all the way in the other corner. It takes you like a minute and a half or something just to run from the waypoint to the tower. And that's like my nightmare marathon scenario. So I just always pray that that never happens. And we got a river this time, but oh boy. This isn't gonna be fun. Okay, we're good. So the Sorceress is also very weak, but very powerful, right? That's kind of her jam, right? She's a wizard mage girl, and Sorceress, I guess, works, and can do a lot of stuff. I also want to look for rings and amulets because I want to get 10 more additional FCR, or faster cast rate. And the reason for that is because since this game works on 25 FPS, there's actually not all things like faster cast rate, faster hit recovery work on a just I got more, thus I have more. And I'm looking for bosses when I'm doing this right here, not just running around the map. And you're like, go that way, what are you doing? So I'm looking for specific amounts of cast rate or hit recovery simply because I won't get improvement until I reach a specific amount, because it's based on frames. So like 13 frames per second, 12 frames per second when you have this much, 11 when you have this much. So there's a lot of quirky things like that in the game that you just kind of learn, and tables that you kind of have to go study when you're just playing this game. Also, on the couch behind me, we do have Miss Kylie, Kung Fu Fruit Cup, and Bird 650. They are not Diablo 2 players, but they're my friends. And so that's why they're not really commentating much here with this. I really don't mind. I like talking anyways. So yeah, they can clap though. So that's true. There you go. There's some clapping. Another dumb, fun, whatever you want to call it, thing about this run is that there's not any glitches really that are worth anything for speedrunning. So, you know, there's minor glitches, and there's obviously some stuff online like duping and whatnot. But when you're speedrunning, there's very few things that are actually used. And on a Sorceress, pretty much nothing at all. So it pretty much just comes down to a run of luck plus skill. So I think that makes it exciting and kind of fun in that regard. You're not just sitting there kind of glitching through the game and whatnot. Oh, and that's just the most beautiful drop in the world. We just got a Taleth drop. So that covers everything we need for the runes. I'll still probably do another run down there just for the sake of getting a little bit more experience, because I am only level 8. I don't have any experience shrines to go farm. Oh, and that's, wow, okay. We'll just call it good. You can clap for that if you want, because that is some very, very nice luck right there. So that's going to make our run a little bit easier. Having that FCR, I'm just going to refer to it as that, is going to speed things up for sure, because that's going to mean I'm teleporting 1 frame faster when we get later on in, and 1 frame doesn't sound very fast until you play a 25 FPS game, and then you're like, oh my gosh, it's crazy. So it's pretty ridiculous. So yeah, so if you want to read some donations, you know, I'm just going to do one more tower run here, and then I'll get going and explain a little more.
All right, we actually have a $20 donation from Zaz that says, there is no cow level. Donation goes towards previously mentioned non-existent cow level. That does not exist.
That's right.
And then we have $100 from Super Beast that says, Go Llama, I watch your stream videos because of the great content. Keep up the good work. Best of luck.
Thank you.
And then we have an anonymous $15 donation that says, here is to one of the games that began a passion which stays with me until this day. Blizzard, we thank you.
Mm-hmm. So I'm also going to be picking up things like scepters and stuff. This is just good gold. I do have 4,600 gold, which is really nice. But having more gold on Sorceress is never really a problem. She is very, very, very mana dependent, and so I'm always having to buy the largest potions. Other characters I can get away with just buying cheaper potions. And so it's super helpful if I'm able to just have gold to buy those potions. So I'll pick up scepters, wands, things like that that have the chance to have plus to skills on them, because they're just worth a ton of money. But of course there's runs where you sit there and pick up every wand and everything in the game and they have no plus skills and you just never get any gold. So more RNG to throw on the pile, really. And it kind of creates this very silly theoretical speed run, which is something that Igley's Pat, one of my viewers, actually did. So he spent many months creating a theoretical run. And this was a run that we could just say, how fast could this run actually be if we just, everything was perfect. All the way from, you know, getting every single item drop that you ever wanted every time to getting just all sorts of crazy additional things. And this is still kind of an early time to go forward, but why not? It'll be fun. So he created this theoretical speedrun, and basically, like I said, the current world record is 1 hour, 12 minutes, and 36 seconds. I believe it's 36, maybe 34. And in his run, after getting all the items and all the like hit chances being perfect, and he always had an experience shrine and everything like that, I think it ended in like 22 minutes or something. Which just goes to show like how ridiculously far off, right? Like in so many other games, it's like, oh, the TAS is 134 and, you know, the world record's 138, or, you know, in Super Mario Bros, it's like 453 is the TAS maybe, and the world record's 455, something like that. So always like crazy, crazy close. And then Diablo 2, it's just a giant joke, and it's like, no, we're not even close to that. But the reason is just because it's there's an infinite amount of options just about, and things that can happen that can speed it up. Better maps and better monsters, better shrines, better drops, better everything. So it doesn't really give us a target or anything. It just kind of shows like how ridiculous this game can actually be. So I posted that video up on my YouTube, and I was like, oh man, people are gonna love this. And the comments were like, well, theoretically, you just wasted 25 minutes of my life. I've got a theory you suck at D2, you know, so all sorts of really positive YouTube things. So I appreciate that, guys. Thank you. People didn't really like it for some reason. They thought it was too hacked, I guess. But that's just a funny story to me. I always crack up whenever I go read those comments. But it really, like I say, it really is just this kind of hacked run. It's never going to happen, right? Nobody will ever have the amount of luck, even close. You would have had a better chance at that $1 billion, $2 billion jackpot or whatever it was than even, you know, getting remotely close to that time.
I can't carry it.
So it was pretty crazy. But yeah, that was the Sorceress theoretical. So like I say, at this point, it's just been trying to improve and trying to just slowly better our times. And we really think that the perfect run would be somewhere around like 107, 108, something along those lines, assuming, you know, human. But once again, you could just get that absolutely crazy run, and then somebody will come in and maybe have some new strategy or new whatever, and, you know, maybe it'll be even faster. Because if you asked me 2 years ago, a year ago, I would have been like, yeah, no, the perfect run's like a 117. And clearly, we are decently past that at this point. So it's that's the fun of Diablo 2. That's what I really like. So I guess I can explain a little bit about what I'm doing here and what exactly is going on instead of just the history of it all. I am running through the jails right now and just trying to beat Act 1. Map generation in this game, there's not any specific like this is going to be your map or anything like that, but there is a lot of stuff that's like hinting for you, right? So it's when I'm in the jails, I can sit there and say, okay, I want to run straight across from where my entrance is. So you can see that like entrance block right there, and this just happened to work out perfectly. My exit block is straight across. Other times the exit block will be not straight across at all, but it will still have the exit point straight across, if that makes any sense. So it's kind of like the direction of the exit you know, but you don't know where it's going to be laid out on the map. And I actually just drew 2 amazing jail maps. I'm very sad I wasted them here instead of on my world record run, because that's like once in a blue moon that I ever get 2 maps like that straight across. But, you know, it's probably good because I'm probably going to be over time. So right now I'm just trying to get to the end of Act 1, and there are 5 acts in this game. And I am going to go get some more stamina potions because I just don't have any. There's 5 acts in this game, and so I'm just kind of collecting stuff along the way, And it's one of these things where it's also nothing is set, nothing is perfect. I actually want to keep that ring. Everything is just kind of as you go. So you can see like right there, I picked up a 1 open socket helm. I would love to have a 2 open socket helm, but 1 open socket's going to be decent enough. I have a Rao rune in my inventory, which is going to give me some fire res later on. So I'm just going to use that. There's some runs where I don't get any Rao runes, or I don't get any sort of fire res, and so I just don't have it, and it's just more dangerous. There's other runs where I'll be sitting there, and I won't get, you know, FCR, or I won't get, you know, a wand with plus to charge bolt, or any of that stuff. And when that happens, you just deal with it and continue moving on, because none of those things really make or break a run. Like I said, there's so many pieces to it
chills me
that
to the bone.
you know, that you can have the most amazing maps and get all these experience shrines and everything, and that run can still be on pace, or it can be completely, you know, broken just from some other aspect. So at this point, I'm trying to just read the maps as best as I can. The catacombs are one of those that I don't really have a good sense. Not like I don't know it. The catacombs doesn't have a set exit for me, so I'm having to just run around. And unfortunately, we did draw that boss up there, so he's lightning enchanted, so that makes it very difficult for me. So whenever I run into a dead end like that, I can kind of read the tile pieces and know, like, that's not going to go any further up there. That's not going to go any further over there. So it's just small seconds that you're able to shave off here and there, but it's still very difficult to read. And so this is also a place where lots of runs go to die. And you'll see plenty of places along this run where runs go to die, including like 10 minutes before the run finishes and stuff. So it brings a lot of RNG to the game, but it's still a lot of fun anyways. Like I say, I do enjoy the variance that this game has from different runs, where a lot of other speedruns are very set. A lot of other speedruns have specific set, you know, monsters in every space, and there's, you know, glitches, and it's just like you do all these things, and this is always what you get. And those are very cool too. I don't think they're bad runs at all. But this is the only tell that I do have right there. I found that waypoint, and so that gives me a small indication of which way I need to go. So I would like to level up a little bit more right now. You can see I'm only level 11. Oh, well, that's, yeah, okay, that's really bad. You can see I'm only level 11 right now, and I haven't really found the greatest boss group. And a tainted boss group there is not going to be my boss group of choice at all. This is going to force me into a very kind of dangerous situation, and that's not our exit. I usually want to end this act around 12.5 to 13, but I'm not even going to be close at this point. I am maybe going to, you know, be 11.5 or so. And you can see already that like every hit is putting me into hit recovery. That's because my character is so weak right now from being slightly under-leveled. So safety, we might just go back and do another like run through the tower, just to get a little bit more experience, because there is decent experience there. You can see there were a lot of boss groups on every level. Unsafe, we'll just go forward and blast some charge bolts at things and see how it goes, which can be very dangerous. So I think this should be it right here. Okay, cool. So this is going to be the end of Act 1 coming up. This fight will be a little bit difficult. There's a chance I die. It's not really a huge issue. My favorite part right there in the game probably. You can just shut the door and then all those monsters are blocked out. So this area will be a little bit difficult simply because Andariel has poison damage here. And like I say, if I die, it's not a huge deal since I literally just have my teleport, or my town portal, right there. I also don't have any rejuvenation potions, which does kind of stink, because those are very helpful in this fight. It allows you to just kind of tank her and stand right on there and not have to worry too much. But we are going to be able to whittle it down decently, and hopefully that's her worst attack right there. Hopefully she doesn't get too excited and start spamming that as I say that. Okay, cool. That's exactly what she's going to do. So we'll play around here. And yeah, that's Act 1. You can clap if you like. That's fine. Like I said, there's not really any great spots for clapping in this run, so you know, just clap whenever you want. Honestly, it's totally fine. It's just kind of stuff that you along the way decide. Oh, that's such like a interesting item to drop. It's just kind of stuff that along the way you just kind of figure out, and we'll go ahead and grab that. We'll sell that, and we'll keep that one. And I'm gonna grab a belt for later. And see if we have any of our faster recovery boots. I'll go ahead and grab those. So at this point, I don't, like I say, I'm super under leveled. The nice thing is I do at least have a sash, but I can't even wear a belt because I haven't been putting strength in for anything there. So this does put us in a little bit of a predicament. I'll go ahead and put these over here, that there, and we'll get a few more potions because we're going to be needing to come back for potions pretty soon here. So this is where things like experience shrines really come in handy. They are just a super way to just gain 150% experience. And so in the world record runs, things like that, you'll often see us farming for them. So you'll see us go and just save quit over and over if we have a waypoint near a couple of shrines, because it's actually totally worth it if you can get it within, you know, a decent amount of time, having that there to help you out. So right now, my biggest scare and also biggest desire is beetles. Beetles are worth a ton of experience, but they do release charged bolts, and I'm sure everybody that has played Diablo 2 is like, oh my gosh, I hate beetles. But they're actually worth really good experience. So I wish to have them, and at the same time, I wish them to not be here. It's a very weird way to put it. So I'm just going to try and get a little bit more experience here. Something that could totally be helpful, and this is another interesting thing that we've kind of developed and figured out along the way. This was actually a strategy that a few of my viewers have talked about, and then I kind of thought about it at the same time. And then one day I tried to just put it in action, and it actually kind of worked. And that is having the Sorceress run forward, find like a really good farm spot, which there's a couple of bosses that are preset that will always appear, but you don't know where they're going to appear. So you don't know if they'll be next to a shrine, if they're just like really far away. And so running to them and just farming to level 18, which, as I said before, is when teleport comes and completely changes the game. So you kind of skip everything in the game to just go into this farming strategy to try and get a really early teleport. And it's actually kind of successful. I've had a couple of runs on it that were really good, but the problem, of course, is you're running all the way through Act 2, or, you know, beating all of Act 1, getting all the way to Act 2, and if you just walk to, you know, and you have bad maps or whatever it is, and you walk there, and your map is poor, and you don't have the quick farm, then you just have to reset. So, kind of stinks in that regard, but I still find it to be a very interesting strategy, and she is the only character that's even close to pulling something like that off. Because none of the other characters really, it just doesn't matter if you have that or not, right? That's just like, I need it. That's just like not important. Leveling is something that you want to do on the way, but there's no big teleport skill or something that's just going to come back and save you 10, 15 minutes potentially of time because you spent it farming. So right now I'm doing some like forward, backward strategy stuff. Basically, I set a town portal there, then I can run forward, get a waypoint, and then come backward, go through the town portal and go complete that area. And of course, the reason for that is that's just going to save me a lot of time, as opposed to going all the way down there. And then now that I'm down there, what do? Do I run all the way back up? Do I quit out and then come back in and have to rerun this whole area? So it's, you know, it's pretty basic. I'm sure a lot of you guys are smart. Twitch chat's usually pretty smart, right? I'm sure they got it.
I can't carry anymore.
Yeah, there you go. Clap for Twitch chat. There you go. Like I said, there's not really any great clap moments, because I just don't have any of those moments where I can be like, and now I'm gonna set up for the hardest trick you've ever seen. Done. There we go. All right. You know, like it's just, yeah. You know. it's not that cool. It's fun in other ways. We have a good time. So Act 2 is everybody's favorite act. If you've played Diablo 2, you're probably groaning right now. Basically, you have to go through and collect all of these pieces, put them together, morph them together, and then from there you go and you get the staff and you put in the to the end, and then you can basically fight Duriel, who's everybody's favorite act boss as well, with his nice Holy Freeze aura and cold damage. And once again, that's another bad joke. This is actually terrible Halls of the Dead because there's way too much stuff here, and that's just a dead end anyways. So it's kind of annoying. Act 3 following is probably the only thing that's slightly more annoying because you have to collect yet an additional piece to then morph together and basically do the same thing. And then after that, the game decides, okay, we're done trolling you. And also you're in like a giant maze of jungles in Act 3. And it can be really, really hard to navigate. And there's also RNG on if you even have to go through specific maps and stuff. So it gets a little bit wonky, I would say, and there's a lot of reset stuff and a lot of you know, things that can just kind of troll you along the way. But through Act 2, at least you have some squares and stuff. But I think there's just some monsters out here, and then of course the Duriel fight and the Arcane Sanctuary, which we will discuss when we get to it. For all sorts of fun areas, especially for speedrunners, where you'll just have a great time and love every bit of it. So like I say, I'm trying to just get some experience right now. The nice thing is I'm actually in an area here where I can get stuff and get okay experience. Usually when you hit like level 14 to 15 here, if you haven't gotten to this area yet because of, you know, a weird map and you had to go a different way or something, you just get 0 experience at all. So I am able to gain a little bit of experience as I'm running through here, but it's still not great. I just want to hit 13. At level 13, I'll be able to have a level 2 Nova, which is when I'll do my respec, and that'll actually help out a lot. Level 1 Nova is kind of weak. It has a 1 to 20 damage range, and so if you roll a couple 1s in a row, you just do nothing. You don't even put the monsters into hit recovery, and it just can often leave you just spending way too much time trying to kill a single monster. Whereas charge bolts actually have okay damage, even though they are very linear, whereas Nova is going to be all around. Excuse me. So right here is going to be our first piece of the puzzle. We're going to get the Tragic Cube, which we will use throughout most of the rest of the run. I just need to make sure I have space for it. And okay, I did use it. Good. These guys will get off the chest. I'm going to grab that, grab the jewel, and just try and get a little more gold, and then we'll quit out. So there's a lot of quitting out and joining back in this run. The main reason is because it tends to just be faster. Additionally, there's a lot of resetting on monster spawns, which can be very nice. And additionally, if you have shrines, you can also reset the shrines. I don't really have any of that stuff right now, so my save quits aren't worth very much. But often you can save some time and get a little bit of extra chance for more bosses and things of that nature. Because you can see right here is my waypoint, and now I'm in the next area. So I don't really get a lot out of that. But I'm almost 13, which is nice. I'll get my respec, I'll get my belt and boots, and things will kind of improve a little bit. So you can also see that I'm pretty naked in this run. That's just how the game has decided to kind of play this time. So sometimes you find all sorts of awesome gear, right? And you're like, great, this is perfect. I found great gear. And then other times you end the run and you don't have gloves on, or you don't have boots on, because you just literally never found boots that were worth equipping. And there's a lot of stats that are, you know, they're okay, but they're not like worth a ton. And I'm actually gonna go back here and reset my stats. And at the same time, I'm going to look for a faster cast rate one. Okay, cool, we got one. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and just do this, get my Nova, get all this. And so now the run's going to be a little bit different. So instead of just sitting there casting Charge Bolt and everything. And I should actually make sure I put my stats in before I get too crazy. Okay. So now before I do all this stuff, the run's going to be a little bit different now because I'm going to be moving and getting more in the way of stuff, which is kind of counterintuitive to what you would imagine someone who's a very fragile and weak character would do. You can see with my damage now being outward from around me, it actually makes a lot more sense to stand in the middle and then try and deal all of my damage. So it's kind of weird, and it definitely leads to a lot of deaths. But it's one of those things where you just kind of have to do it because it just ends up being the better strategy overall. So I'm going to be using static right here, and this is going to be kind of my favorite skill as things continue forward. One, in terms of beetles and such, it's not going to actually proc their lightning bolts. So they release lightning bolts every time they get hit, which you can see right there, and those are horrible and do a ton of damage. I get to kind of dodge that by using static. But additionally, it is an HP removal by percentage. Oh, and that's super helpful. We really needed that. You can clap for an experience shrine any day. You can clap for that, especially with beetles around. Oh, don't die. Please don't die. Okay. Oh, I did not want to lose that. Oh, nice. Boss group 2. So you can see it does HP removal right there. And so that's even on big bosses, which is kind of OP, some people might say. And by that, I mean probably every single person who's played Diablo 2. It just ends up being way too good. You just end up doing... Oh, I do want to go this way, I think. You just end up doing way too much damage. Simply because when you go up to a boss and you just static them once, or 5 times, 10 times, they're suddenly down to like no health at all. And it's like, okay, that makes it a lot easier. So everybody loves to have a sorceress in their party because you can just easily take monsters down to so much less health than they have. So I'm going to go ahead and head up this way, and this will take us to the Lost City. You might have noticed that I didn't leave a TP at the Maggot Lair right there. The reason is because I actually want to wait on that. That area can be a little bit difficult, to put it simply. It's one of the tough areas. Oh, nice. We actually got another boss group down below us. This is one of the 2 boss groups that is... Oh, no, it's not. Just kidding. Here we go. There's the boss group, though. I thought it was in a different area there. But yeah, so it's one of the areas where it's really kind of a tough area. Your Maggot Lair is probably one of the worst areas that actually exist in the game. And because it's just this tight, narrow tunnel, and it's extremely difficult to get through, and the map can be really horrible sometimes. So a lot of times you want to be a slightly higher level. Being level 15, I find, is usually one of the best levels to be, at least, right, to get through it. Otherwise, you're just going to not have a very fun time. Whereas if you're running through the Lost City and you get to the Claw Viper Temple, it's not quite as bad. And so you can kind of deal with it, and it works out all right. So I'll just go ahead and continue to pump up my life. And you will note that I did put some points into energy before. And I had talked about before, like, oh, why would I ever put energy? The reason there is because Nova is actually a very mana-intensive skill. So while Charge Bolt is pretty simple and easy, Nova gets really, really, really awful to use. And so we just kind of avoid it if we can. And in terms of finding boss groups, I'm actually very happy that I found this next boss group here. So Diablo 2 has a very interesting way of spawning boss groups on maps. And essentially, maps have a set number of bosses that they're generally going to be spawning. And in this case, there is a specific set boss that is also in addition to those bosses. But if you run into that boss first, then you're not going, that counts as one of your bosses. So you'll actually see here, maybe here, not here. I don't know if I'm going to run into it, unfortunately. You may see, nope, we don't have that map, darn it. If I did run into the set boss, it would be the 3rd boss essentially on this map, whereas this map is only really limited to 2 boss groups. So, and that's also one of those reasons I talked about before, save quitting, kind of as the game goes on, because whenever I save quit, it's going to reset the boss groups on the map, and thus I have a chance to find even more of those boss groups. Plus I can of course run into the set bosses again Let me actually get my belt and my boots out. And I do have that Haragic cube if I do want. Yeah, we'll try it. We'll give it a try. So I'm going to go ahead and grab some white boots here. And we'll take it back for a quick imbue and see if we can get something really good with it.
I just wanted to remind everyone for our incentive for the Cal level that obviously does not exist.
Doesn't exist.
Right now we're at 1,366. We need 5,000 by the end of this run. If you guys want to see the Cal level, which of course does not exist. So if you want that to exist, then go ahead and send in your donations now. I also did have a very interesting, very in-depth donation of $15 from Raksha that says, moo,
Wow.
moo,
Wow.
moo, 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 moo,
No.
moo,
Okay.
moo.
Wow.
Thank you for that donation.
Wow. Wow. That is,
Beautiful. Just
wonderful.
beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, so poetic, you know. So, yes, there is a not Cal level in this game, and it is one of the best parts of the game. And it's actually, if it existed, it actually has the, like a bunch of the people who just created Diablo 2's voices, and they're just all the cows. Somebody just like went around the office and held up a recorder and was just like, hey, can you moo into this? And so they did, and that's like all the moves. So it is quite wonderful. And it sounds a lot like what we just got in that donation. And if you'd like to go ahead and do a couple of donations, that would also be fine. Oh, gosh.
No problem. We have a we have a $25 donation from Hemar that says, had to donate during the Diablo 2 run. So good to see Mr. Llama back at a GDQ. Good luck and moo. And then we have $25 from Cat Red that says, we need to get this cow level met, but it doesn't exist. Sorry. And then we have $100 from Cyclops Boy that says, donating because that Rowler is adorable. Llama is a great runner and one of my favorite games. Kylie and Fufu on the couch, two people that have done a great job fostering a community of caring and charity.
Yep.
That's some pretty good reasons.
That's a lot of good reasons right there. So I drew just like a horrible map down here. It's not the worst thing ever because once again I'm still getting experience, and as you guys can definitely tell, I really, really need experience. This is one of those runs where I just haven't had much experience like at all. But it also just ended up being a really terrible map in terms of the directions. And let me actually be safe here. This is a very scary area because there is a lightning enchanted boss down here who is going to let us up. Okay, good. And we will get amulet now. And this is where I will go ahead and do a reset again and hopefully get some more boss groups as we continue forward. And those boots, I did try to imbue them. That's just kind of another RNG factor in the game. You can roll boots or roll whatever item you want with your imbue quest, if you even get the imbue quest. And it can have a chance to give you something nice. And I was hoping for some fast run walk, maybe some resistances, life. I got 0 of those. So those boots go in the trash, and we'll just continue using the hit recovery boots that we did find along the way. So at this point, once again, there's like a great reset, right? I got a beetle boss group, which is fantastic for me because you can see experience bar just jumps like mad. So you can imagine if you get like a couple of those in a row, you just get to have a really nice party. But it is good to just have some beetles anyways along the way because any bit of beetles does help with the experience. And we'll just have to see what happens in the maggot lair here as well. So this is that horrible area. I'm sure you can already tell why it's terrible. It doesn't take a lot to figure that part out. Maps are windy. There is a little bit of, I know to run to the right of the way that I came in. Sometimes you can get rooms like this which have a little bit of experience. And if I get a good like beat up boss group in there, I'll actually be very happy. But in general, I'm just trying to find the way out, and it looks like it is probably down. Oh no, it's not. Okay, we'll keep looking for it. Maybe over here? Yeah, okay, good. So that's the first one. And then we actually got a really good peek on the second one right there. You can see on the map that we have the hole. Because if that was a little bit further left, I would have run this entire maggot lair, level 2, to try and find it. Because I would have gone up and over and continued up and around, and then finally gone to this downway. And then been very sad and pouty. But now we don't have to pout, so that's really good. Woo! You can clap for no pouting if you like. There, yeah. Great. The clappable moments of D2 are wonderful. So we're in level 3, and we're coming up more towards the close of Act 2. Experience is definitely a factor. I am not going to have level 18, I'm pretty sure, by the time I get to Duriel, so it's going to be a little bit of a slow run in that regard. Simply because we've only had one experience shrine this entire run, and even though it was a decent one, you have to get more than that. I think the world record run has like 11 experience shrines in it or something. So that stuff right there is kind of what makes up the difference. So I'll morph those together. I actually really love the save quit speed. And the reason I keep going back to Act 1 and then Act 2 is because it's actually faster, right? You can see how much quicker I am to get up to this point and get to Drognen than if I had just run the whole way. So it's a faster way to get to a waypoint. So you'll see that quite often for just that save quit. Anytime you're in Act 2 pretty much and you quit out, you're just going to always travel back to Act 1 right there and then continue forward. So yeah, so we're 15 and a half. I'd say we're about a whole level under where I'd like to be, which isn't a big deal, and also, you know, kind of is a big deal. This was a world record run. Well, obviously it's not. We don't have to even pretend. But, you know, in a normal run, I'd still wish to be about 16 and a half right here in general. And especially if I had a couple of shrines to farm, I could farm one of those before I went to the Arcane Sanctuary, which is what we're coming up on. And then that would get me close to 18, so even if I had bad luck there, it wouldn't be so horrible. But right now we're just going to have to take our chances and see how it goes, and just continue from that point. I'm actually going to go ahead and grab a little bit more gold here. I do have a lot. I think I have like 10k in my stash or something like that. But like I said before, it's one of those things where you never really can have too much gold on a Sorceress. I mean, you obviously can. This is extremely dangerous right now. Oh, jeez. Oh, boy. Oh, they're just blocking me. Please move. Thank you. So these guys will actually freeze up if you get them low enough. And they'll kind of stand still, which is really nice. But you just have to, like, get them to that point. And, of course, blocking with a bunch of archers is not the most ideal thing in the world. So I'm actually going to turn back on that way. There's specific routes in the Arcane Sanctuary that I want to run. The first one, of course, is one with these portals. And the reason is, I think, pretty evident. I can teleport, or I can telekinesis the portals, and it'll move me through the run a lot faster there. I'm also going to try and kill things, especially if I get a boss group like this, because that is worth 500% experience whenever I kill a boss group and the minions. So that's going to improve things a lot for me in my experience journey. But you can see kind of just how much faster it is to run this path as opposed to running other paths. Now the nice thing is the Sorceress doesn't have too many issues with other paths. It just is a little bit slower for her, but some characters, other paths can just be absolutely horrible because they'll have stairs on them and things like that, and their spells won't work on the stairs, and just turns into kind of a nightmare. So still want to always try and take the fastest path first and then move forward from there, which is what we are trying to do. And we do not get a first way. I'll go ahead and kill these guys right here. Go back. and then we'll try for the second way. So you can imagine in a run that, you know, when you're 45, 50 minutes in, somewhere around there, or probably like an hour or something, I don't know. But when you're this far into the run, you can imagine it's pretty upsetting if you just get like a fourth way. And then it just kind of destroys your run because it was on a great pace, and now you have to go through all the ways of the Arcane Sanctuary. And it's 1 to 4. We've tried everything we can possibly try to figure out, you know, how can we figure out the direction? And there probably is something with, like, if we read the memory file and stuff, but nothing that we've really deemed as not hacking. So there's no good way. Some people are like, follow the stars in the back. They always go left. Other people think there's, you know, you can like look at the ground and figure out a pattern. We have tried stuff. Everybody has tried stuff. It's one of these things where it's actually, people do summoner runs or Arcane Sanctuary runs essentially to try and get to the end of it for farming something called keys. And nobody has ever found a way to make it work besides just map hacking, which of course is not legal. So has hacking in its name. I think it's pretty self-evident. So instead, we just take our chances on it. I'm usually known for finding it in the later half and then, of course, being all upset. And my competitor, Teo, is usually known for getting it on his first way. It's a wonderful balance, for sure. But we do get a second way on it, so actually works out very nicely for the marathon. You can cheer for a second way. For sure. That's a cheerable moment. So something that is coming up, right? We do have BlizzCon coming up in a week here. And there's a lot of rumors, a lot of discussion of what's going to be coming up next. I know I'm definitely very excited. I don't want to put any pressure on Blizzard, of course, in any way, but maybe a little bit. But, you know, maybe a D2 remaster, maybe a Diablo 4, maybe something else. Maybe not even discussed immediately at, I'm going to go for these videos because they're experienced, at BlizzCon, but something in the future. Diablo 2 is an 18-year-old game. If you couldn't tell by the 800 by 600 window I'm playing in and the 2085 FPS speed here. But despite that, I think it's still a classic, and I would love to see it remastered or, you know, move into something like a Diablo 4 eventually that has all of the fantastic stuff that I love about D2 in it. So $666 donation if you think D2 remastered is coming, and $5 donation if you think it's not. $10 if you think donating for a comment is stupid. So we got another boss group right here, and or some champions at least. Still worth 300% experience, so I will go after them. I really, really, really want to have level 17, at least by Duriel. 18 is, you know, it'd be nice. Obviously, we're not going to get that. But 17 gets me that stealth armor, and that is very important because that's going to speed me up and allow me to kind of move around a little bit. So I'm very hopeful for that. And if you want to do a couple donations here really quick while I try and just level up, you can.
Sure thing. We have a $15 donation from Kalazi5 that just says, moo. Okay. We have a $15 donation from Gino that says, for the cows. And actually, speaking of which,
Good day.
we jumped up really quickly for the cow level. We're now at 4,621.
Wow. Wow.
So we're almost there. So
That was fast.
we shut up 3K like in the span of like 5 minutes. So someone wants a non-existent level to happen.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
And-
Well, awesome job, everybody. Yeah, you can read another one.
Oh, no problem. And then we have a $100 donation from Arrow122 that says, had to donate during Diablo 2, which is one of my favorite games. Thanks to all of the staff and runners for this great event, and good luck to the rest of the runners.
Woo. So at this point, this is where maps can also just get really messed up and be horrible. because this map can be pretty large, and you aren't always 100% certain if you're going in the right direction, and you just have that general, I think I need to move this way, but maybe not sort of feeling, which is how a lot of Diablo 2 actually ends up feeling. So I'm going to go ahead and just try to get to the end. The nice thing is there are beetles in here, so as much as my health is tanking down a ton, and I'm having to like kind of refresh this, even though I did get 17, so that's actually really nice. I need to get an armor as well. So as much as that is difficult, it is helping my experience, and it is going to help us kind of as we go through the game. And I'm actually going to sell that armor now. Sorry to the people who don't like that. And then I'm going to go back and try and farm an armor that is 2 open sockets. So this is also one of the things that you just try and find along the way, and more just RNG, right? Let's once again just keep piling it on. I need a 2 open socket armor if I want to wear stealth, and I'd say maybe half of the runs you'll find along the way, and the other half of the time you won't. And I'll actually go ahead and grab a 2 open socket helmet while I'm here, just in the event that I want to pop. I find like a ruby or something, I can get a little more life and put that in. So at this point, okay, there we go. We do find it, and we'll go ahead and very carefully make our stealth armor. I have bricked that before, and that is not a fun experience, simply because the Twitch chat is relentless. Oh my gosh. So here we go. Okay, so we found the exit, which is really nice. And we'll go ahead and put this here, get my staff out, kill a couple more beetles, and oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. Too many dudes. Okay, now I'll put it in. Okay. So we'll go there, take care of that, and we are going to be finishing Act 2 here. So this is actually people's, I'd say, least favorite boss, if I had to guess. For good reason. He's kind of annoying. You're in a very limited space, like I said before. He'll freeze you and chill you. He does a lot of damage, but you can see just how silly static field ends up being here. So this is me just staticking him, and then kind of playing keep away a little bit. And just like that, I'm able to bring him down to basically no health and kill him right there. So that's the end of Act 2. And he does drop some antlers, which I am pretty excited about, as you can tell by my tone of voice. That will be nice for us, hopefully, to get some gold. Rare antlers can sell pretty well. It's one of those random chance items, maybe 15,000 in the next act, or maybe like 850 or something. So we'll see what ends up happening there. And I am 17 and a third roughly, so not great. So this is actually a fast trip out of Act 2, by the way. Fun little tip for the D2 players out there. If you want to be faster when you kill Duriel, you can just go right into the harem there and just cast quick.
So I really hate to interrupt us.
No, you're totally fine.
But I'm so sorry, Kung Fu. We had this anonymous $3,000 donation.
Wow.
That says, hi, would everyone please confirm their shoes are tied? It's tied. It is officially tied. It was almost untied. It is official, guys. The chat were wondering. They were very concerned. That was their most concern.
Well, there's a lot
was
of
the shoe being tied.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
Because the cow level doesn't exist. Like, let's be honest here.
So at that point, like, what else do you have to be concerned about? I guess my Sorceress dying, but they're not concerned. They know it'll happen. So this is a fun little quest, the Jade figurine right there. It's a great way to get 20 extra life. So we're just going to leave it on the ground because this is a speed run, and we don't take time for those sorts of things. In a hell run, I would actually care about that and pick it up because as you get further and further in this game, it really starts to get more difficult. I would say late game Diablo 2 speedrunning, is like one of the hardest things, especially if you're playing on hardcore mode and just trying not to die. Every little bit of life like that can just be a savior. So trying to go fast while also stay alive is definitely one of the things. So at this point, we're still just having to run around Act 3. This is really annoying. Usually by this point, I'm just teleporting, and you guys are like, I don't know what's going on because the screen's just kind of moving around and stuff. But now you actually get to see a little bit of Act 3. So I'm trying to run into each of these little crevices here. I'm looking for the spider cavern. And this is why Act 3 itself can just be super, super, super difficult. Because you just... The forest here ends up being like a maze, and it really puts you into a tough situation where you can get lost. And additionally, there's a thing called a Great Marsh skip, where the game will actually give you a entrance to not the next area, but the next area, and you don't always know if you have it or not. So sometimes you run to the Great Marsh, and you don't know if through the Great Marsh you're going to hit a dead end, or if through the Great Marsh you're going to actually run into the Flare Jungle, or if it connects to the Spider Forest. Oh, we got a bad map draw too. So it's one of those things where you just have to kind of get lucky, and this is another place that I wouldn't say runs always go to die, but they get kind of difficult because you're running into those tough scenarios where you're just like, well, I just have to guess. And it's a very hard map to read. I would definitely say that speedrunners have gotten better at reading it over the years here, but even still to this day, there's no just like, well, you have this, and thus it's guaranteed to be like this. I'd say nothing in D2 is guaranteed, even things that pretty much say they are guaranteed, because eventually there's some sort of rule breakage where they just try and cut loops or something. So you might say, like, in the Cold Plains, you can never get a resist fire shrine. And then it rolls, and when it's like deciding what shrine will go there, and after a certain number of rolls, it goes, all right, I'm tired of rolling. And if it rolled in a resist fire shrine, it'll just put it there. So there's sorts of strange interactions and things like that the game has. And here you can see we're about to hit level 18, which will be very nice for us because we're finally going to get teleport. And I will go ahead and grab chainmail as well for a little bit more gold, and actually click on teleport as well so we can teleport. So now we're going to go ahead and be looking to see what sort of map we have. And so far I haven't seen anything that is a good indicator for me that we have a skip. So we're just going to have to kind of follow along with it and see where it ends up taking us. And I actually want to click on that again. And we might have one here. Okay, no, this leads to the Great Marsh. I think I'm actually going to have to go through this Great Marsh, unfortunately. Like I said, I didn't get to check that entire map there, so I'm not 100% certain. We might run into a dead end here, and that'll just kind of stink. But it might be just what we have to do, unfortunately. I definitely want to also get more mana potions. So something that's unique about Act 3 teleporting is that in Act 3 your potions aren't quite strong enough. They're just a little bit too weak to fully teleport all the way. So that's why you see me doing like teleport, wait a tiny bit, teleport. Oh, I forgot to just do that. Wait a little bit, just kind of back and forth with all of that stuff. It gets definitely annoying, and it's something that gets solved when we get to Act 4 and 5, and definitely speeds up the run even more. And yeah, here's our Flare Jungle, so it was the correct read. It's just unfortunate. But you can see it still didn't take up that much time. It just added a little bit there, maybe a minute or so. But usually by this point, that minute is the difference between getting the world record or not getting the world record. So you definitely want to have it if you can. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this and drop a TP here. This will get me a boss group, or a boss man at least. Grab the dip in. And so now I'm just going to go ahead and do the forward to try and get a or a waypoint for a little bit of a checkpoint, and then I can bring it back after that. Additionally, I'm trying to pick up experience along the way here. We actually have an okay area. It's not the most amazing because there are birds there, and birds aren't worth great experience. But all these little dudes right here are fantastic. So I definitely want to grab as many of those little packs as I can and kill them. And it's just kind of always a balance of trying to find the perfect grouping of monsters, right? Because the more stuff I can kill in my AoE, the better it is. So if I'm wasting time, you know, trying to hit all those, and then I move over and there's one other pack or something, that's not quite as efficient. And these are the small optimizations that we try and make as the run goes on to just improve it a little bit, I'd say. But this is also a very, very dangerous time. You can see I'm not quite 19 yet, and my fire res is 16, which, you know, at least is something, but it's not super great. And so it puts me in a slightly difficult position, because if I do teleport into a fire breather, I pretty much just die on the spot. Like, I might have a small chance of survival, but there's a decent chance that I would get one shot if that actually hits me right there. So let's not test it. So good experience still. I'm definitely running out of portals here, and I'm going to go ahead and place that right there. And we can really, really hope that this is the waypoint, and it is. So that is really nice. And now we can, of course, go backwards. So on the Sorceress, I want to get pretty close to level 20, because at this point, we're starting to get to that point where we're just not gaining as much experience, right? This is kind of one of the last areas where I'm actually going to be gaining experience for killing stuff. And you'll definitely start to see that as we move forward beyond, towards the end of Act 3 and beyond. I'll kill a bunch of stuff, and my experience bar will move basically nothing at all. And it's pretty awful, for sure. And you can see, like, having some of that fire res now is super helpful. That just saves me so much life when those guys are attacking. And I'm going to set that down just as a safety TP, because you never know when you're just going to teleport into certain death. Like this. Perfect. That was on purpose to show you guys, for sure. Totally. So I do need to be a little bit careful here, but we're going to... Oh, God. Oh, jeez. Okay, we're in a fun spot. Yeah. Another example, of course. So I think at this point I'm just going to teleport out of this. And that'll help us. Instead of trying to get a Nova off really fast. They were catching me prior to that, so wasn't quite doing enough. So like I say, not a huge deal. That is definitely a small time loss, and it's not something that you want to have happen in a run for sure. But deaths end up being pretty minor a lot of times. I do want to get that battle staff for gold. And there's things like, I mean, if you just think about how long it took me for, you know, another run in the Arcane Sanctuary compared to 2 deaths right there, that Arcane Sanctuary is worth way more. So a lot of times people, you know, they always are like, oh, well, you died, so the run should be over. And it's like, I mean, you could say that, but this is, you know, that's very minor, and especially where you die. In Act 4, if I die at, like, Diablo or something, it's basically nothing at all. Maybe a couple of seconds lost there. So this is, I guess, the difference between hardcore and softcore right there. Hardcore, I'd have to save quit out of that and then lose a little bit of time. So I do have the hardcore. Oh my gosh, that's a horrible ring. I do have the hardcore record. 1 to lightning skills is actually not bad. I'm going to use that. I do have the hardcore source record at 114 something. Who knows exactly. So it's a little bit slower than that. Did I ever get the piece? Okay. Just making sure. So it's a little bit slower than the softcore record, but once again, it's one of those, if you run into any bad situations, you're having to save quit out or whatever it is, so there's a lot of, usually hardcore runs end up being a little bit slower because you're having to play a little bit safer. So I'm definitely trying to get my experience towards about 19.8%, and then throughout the rest of the run, I will get 0.2% of experience to try and get level 20. And if you want to do a couple more donations, you can right now while I just kind of farm up a little bit.
Sure thing. We have a $25 donation from Rather that says Diablo is red, The Cow King says moo. Tyrell likes burgers, so go make him a few. Then I have a $10 anonymous donation that says, I am in the audience. I may be a cow disguised as a human. There is now cow level. Okay, I'm just double checking. Everyone's awake, right? Right? Yeah. Okay. And also, it looks like we are confirmed for the cow level.
All right. Woo.
Guess cows like to cosplay, so nice.
Nice human cosplay. So, so at this point I have the 3 pieces. I just have to go get the final piece, which will just be at Travancore. My experience is pretty much where I want to be. If I can get one more boss group on the way, I think I'll be happy. I also want to be very careful to make sure I have my frozen armor on, because if I don't, that's a great way to just die whenever you just get caught in the middle of some stuff. So hopefully after that, I probably still want a little bit more experience. It's a very, very, very small difference, but it's one where I have to be level 20. So that's the reason that I have to get it. I guess for some people, they're like, I don't understand why you're being so particular about it. I have to actually be level 20 to beat the game. Otherwise, we'd probably see speedrunning even faster, simply because, oh, well, you can just skip ahead, right? As soon as you get your teleport, you just go right to the end, and then you're fine. But it's something that I do need, and I don't need to die here.
Impossible.
Oh, fun. Excuse me. Okay, let's make this swap out. And so we'll just grab here, put this here, go here with that. And you can actually do that right there. So a little bit slow in this Act 3 for sure. Not my favorite Act 3 by any means. I'm going to go pick up a mercenary really fast. He's going to be extremely helpful as this run goes on. And he's going to help with multiple spots. There's level 18. We'll take it. And he'll probably die there really fast. But then we'll bring him back a couple times. So hopefully he stays alive, though. It's very helpful for the Mephisto fight that I'm about to do. And I have a little bit of time right in there before I get to... while the Travancore is opening up, I guess I should say. Or whatever you want to call it. I don't really pay attention to the lore at all. But while all that stuff is happening, that experience shrine's pretty worthless now. So there's our second experience shrine, just to mess with us. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, so I'm just going to take this, turn to level 2, level 3. And if he can survive Mephisto, it'll just save us a little bit of gold and maybe make the Mephisto piece a little bit faster. If not, then that's okay as well. We'll just have to kill Mephisto without. So these maps actually get horrible once you get down into Hell. And even in Nightmare. This is one of the maps that has like the most expansive, I should say, between the difficulties. Or is the most expansive. And so let's go ahead and heal up right there. And I'm healing my mercenary, praying that he stays alive. And he did a good job. Claps for him at least, right? It's a good effort. So go ahead and identify some items. We'll bring them back. Hey, there you are. We killed him. And we'll just continue to move forward. So at this point, I also don't need my cube. So we'll just kind of leave the cube on the ground. That also makes people freak out usually. And I'll go ahead and just sell some things here. And we'll get him poison damage. Why not? That sounds good. So giving him a weapon significantly increases his damage output. And makes him so much better here. So now I've also moved into Act 4. So I have a lot better potions. You can see I have these greater man potions. It's also very expensive. So I'm definitely going to have to be careful with gold as we go on. I don't have enough gold. I didn't really get too great of drops that were worth a ton there. But now you're also going to see the game kind of getting weird. So right now you'll notice that I'm opening up my inventory. And this actually allows me to teleport further in the game by pushing my Sorceress. You can see that she's in the middle of the map right now, and now she's on the left side, or in the middle of the screen. So by opening up screens, you can actually teleport further just a little bit, and it actually ends up saving a little bit of time. But it's a little ridiculous looking, I would say, and it definitely isn't the most appealing. So I do it in some cases. But like right here, I'm just trying to find this city. But now I'm in the River Flame, so I'm probably going to be opening it up and just trying to get through quickly. And that is a horrible map spawn, actually. But we'll see how this goes. Really, really, really not a fun map. Oh dear. Okay. Okay, and we got out of there. So, a little annoying, but we got there. So this is now entering probably the most dangerous place in the game, especially for a sorceress. You can also see I don't have gloves, I don't have a shield. My boots are pretty garbage. I'm not very prepared, right? So you can sometimes just run into stuff like that, and it's super fun. We'll go ahead and just reset that bit, as we were definitely going to die there. I was put into hit recovery, so there was no way I was getting out of that. And sometimes I would say you can. Generally, with the amount of cast rate that I do have, I'm fine in those situations, and I'm not going to get hit. But for some reason, that one I just kind of got a little unlucky, I'd say. So at this point, not too bad of a spawn. The RNG in the Chaos Sanctuary is pretty huge because you can either draw a ton of monsters and it just gets horrible, or you can draw not many at all and it's not too bad. So this is still a very dangerous area. And we are going to do our best to fight these boss group here. Okay, so he has very high lightning reds there, so it's very difficult. But that worked out nicely. Core staff can also have a pretty good chance of giving us enough gold to kind of get through at least the rest of Act 4 and potentially further on. We'll just have to see. And stay alive, Wahid. And he's also very helpful with Disface right there. So now he's kind of done his job for Act 4. He has a job in each act. Generally just dies over here, because this is kind of a spooky spot where a lot of damage gets done. But, oh boy, that's a fun spawn. Ooh, jeez. Oh, that's death. Yeah, okay. You don't have to clap for that one. Alright, let's be a little care player. Okay. So this is where the game gets fun. Right. Oh, we're also just in constant hit recovery. Where's my real body? Oh, okay. Oh, jeez. Okay. Tons of fun and perfect. Okay. So this is once again where not having a lot of fire res is very deadly. As you can see, if I had picked up another Ra rune, I would be in a much better position. Small slowdown. That wasn't the greatest spawn point. Usually he spawns a little bit deeper in that space, and it's helpful for us, but we're just gonna try and make do still. And hopefully get our body. And there's also constant curses pretty much coming out from those horrible, awful guys, Oblivion Knights. And they used to have this one curse called Iron Maiden where they would reflect all melee damage dealt to them back. And it was like the most broken thing ever. It just destroyed all melee characters. And so they got rid of it. And there also used to be, this is just horrible. It's a lot of fun, right? There also used to be a thing called Thief, that's death for sure, where they would actually take your, knock your like items and potions and stuff to the ground. But they also got rid of that. I think that just ended up being a little too trolly. Okay, so we're just gonna not die anymore and finish this off. How does that sound? I think that sounds better. I'm gonna blame hardware or something. Find some excuse. So we have to do some kind of like runaway static stuff, and hopefully. much. So many Oblivion Knights everywhere here. It's making this not fun at all. Not very fun at all. Alright, this is definitely slowing down our run. Apologies, my Act 4s are usually not this bad. We'll call that good. Pretend like it's good enough. Come over here. Jeez. Wow. Okay. Jump. I don't even know where that boss man is.
I need mana.
Okay. A little bit of isolation on him. Nope, not enough. All the Oblivion Knights pretty much always will put me into hit recovery here. Oh, thank goodness. All right, you can clap. It doesn't even deserve a clapping, honestly, but we'll just take it. Oh, the fun. That's fun. That's probably one of the worst Act 4s. At least Chaos Sanctuaries I've had in a while. Doesn't even feel like I have any fire res on the way that was going. So Diablo has his lightning hose. It can be pretty bad. I don't know why I clicked that. We should be able to just take him down here pretty quick, and that is Act 4. So minus the small journey there, it ended up working out. It's a very bad item drop though, so that's actually going to be a little difficult for us. As we got like no gold whatsoever from that. So that is going to leave us potentially short. I might have to continue shopping in Act 4 for a little bit, because Act 4 will actually have cheaper potions until Act 5 I kill the first boss, if I do, which I probably won't. So I'll probably just come back to Act 4. Actually, I could just kill him. We'll get Wahid back. He's got one more job for us. And if you want to read a couple donations, this is just going to be a lot of teleporting.
No problem. We have a $100 donation from Triac that says, "Go Llama Go." We have a $25 donation from Avnerman that says, "Happy Llama, sad Llama." Well, you know the rest. Good luck, Mr. Llama. Get that first way.
Thank you. Second way, but it's close.
Then we have a mysterious Blizzard employee that donates $100 that says, "Hanging out here at TwitchCon and decided to donate during Diablo 2. Goes to Runner's Choice."
Not enough mana.
Maybe they're hinting something.
Maybe.
I need mana.
What's our next donation incentive for like the next one or something?
So I believe incentive-wise won't be our bonus game, if I'm correct. Everything else is like bid wars, basically. The next one actually is coming up right now, which is for Resident Evil 2, Claire versus Leon. Claire right now is winning at $420. Leon has $208. So if you want if you want Leon to play instead of Claire, go ahead and start making those donations pretty soon, because the game is right after this. We have a bunch of names set out for Earthbound. So there's a whole list, there's a whole bunch. So for the kids' names, I think our top 4 is Yeet, Ryan, Roma, and Sans. So if you want that change, you can go ahead and get that change now. For the player's name, there's only 3 options so far that people have made. Number 1 being Mega Man.
Not enough mana.
I don't know why. I mean, he does protect the world, so maybe that's the thing.
Probably.
And then for the Link to the Past Super Metroid combo randomizer, yes, that is a thing, if you guys didn't know that. They are actually doing the save the animals or kill the animals. Save is winning right now with 1,261. Kill the animals being at 950. Next incentive will actually be a bonus game, which will be TaskBot's run of Super Mario 64 One Key. I have no clue what that means, but it needs to be 7,500, and right now we're at 2,368. And then for the very last bonus game, it will be a Super Mario Brothers 3 any percent warpless co-op, which is at which will be run with Grand Pooh and Grand Pooh Bear and Mitch Flower Power. So you already know there's going to be some broken consoles going on.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure.
And that is actually only at 585. I believe they had just opened this up not that long ago. And we need 20,000. So if you guys want those incentives in, if you guys want to change those names, save or kill the animals, start sending in those donations now.
Perfect. So that was the Ancients fight right there. Got a little sketchy, just due to kind of the way that Corlick moved out, but it ended up not being too bad. And now we're just trying to teleport to the very end of the game and avoid those things, which are Death Lords, which are horrible. If you guys want to give a clap for Wahid, he's going to die soon, and he should hear some cheers before it's the end of his time, I think. He's done a good job for us. He's done a very good job. So we are now in the throne room. We're going to have 5 waves of Bale. I'm getting save quit world record flashbacks already. So we're just going to have 5 waves here, and then we're going to have Bale, and then that will be time when we eventually get there, and I'll give you guys that cue at that point. We're also pretty much completely out of gold, and I'm definitely going to have to go back, so we're going to be selling some gear that we have, which is usually how these runs end up going if you just get a Diablo spawn like I had there with absolutely no gold. So now's a pretty good time. We can also save Wahid for a tiny bit longer. Right there, right there. Oh, that's actually worth a lot of gold. And let me get some mana potions real fast. And we're out of money. Okay, cool. Hopefully that's enough. Do I have TPs? Yeah, okay. Also a great way to ruin a run. Okay, so at this point I'm going to do essentially drag strats. I didn't need to really freeze these guys. That was probably a poor choice. This is kind of a way to cheese the game a little bit. Death Lords there are not good at all. I am not digging these guys one bit. Oh, jeez. Okay. So bosses, or I should say minions, like to follow their leader, who you can see is right back there. And we need to actually get him to drag on us, so we need to get him to lock on, and then continue further southward, please. Nope, yep, okay, yeah, cool. So we got him out. So a little bit challenging, but in general, they will lock onto their boss and essentially try and follow him out, or they have kind of like a leash essentially, and they don't like to go too far away from their boss with that leash. So what you can do is you can just do these strats, which is called drag strats, and once you get the minions out of the throne room, Bale just kind of thinks they're dead or something like that. I don't know, it was an interesting programming decision to not make it the entire throne room, but just right there. So if you can just get the monsters beyond a specific line essentially down here, then you can just continue forward with the run. So we just have one more group right here. We get Lister, and this is actually a huge boss group to skip because if not, it takes a while for sure. We just want to once again try and make sure that we can get... it's not happening. Okay, so the boss ended up being the guy in the back, which is not good RNG. And now we're going to die. So that's fun. These are just all sorts of fun. Okay, so let's see if we can just get this drag. Death Lords are truly terrible because they'll actually speed up essentially every hit that they get on you. Their speed speeds up, their attacking speeds up, everything like that. So it ends up being a pretty difficult situation. And then, of course, sometimes you just get the monster like this who ain't doing anything except killing me. And this right here is you can see a little bit why this is a pretty difficult boss group to fight, because it takes a lot to kill them. So having the drag is definitely worth it. All right, so we're gonna come up on Bale here, and hopefully he doesn't do too much damage and we can just survive. But knowing how this run's going, We'll probably die. So I'm just going to try and static him down. Hopefully he doesn't move too much or do too many damaging spells. There he goes. There's his clone as well. All the beautiful things. And we'll take that death. That's fine.
I need mana.
And time is coming up right now.
I am overburdened.
Well, I wish I was continuing this run to hell. We just got 20 FCR, 3 man after kill, and then also a low resistance one. So that's really nice. So at this point, I guess we're moving on to cows, right? Where are we with Kane as well? What is the current situation?
We are saving Kane.
We're
it looks like.
saving good old Kane. Sounds good. I guess I don't need to sell those things. I have tons of gold now. All right, so I'll go ahead and stock up on potions, and then we'll see if we can find some magical level of bovine here.
That does not exist,
It
remember?
does not exist. And it's actually a fun story of how it kind of came to be. It was just kind of a trolley scenario where people kept thinking in Diablo 1 that there was like a cow that they just kind of put in there, and so people were like, the cow has to mean something, and they were like, there's a secret cow level or just something like that, and so the developers kind of played off that and just put it in Diablo 2, and they also put there is no cow level as a cheat in StarCraft. I think kind of also hinting at that. So it wasn't anything that I think was originally planned. I think it just got added in from the community. So at this point, we're just trying to find the tree. There's 2 more experience shrines just to mock us. And there's the tree and waypoint.
This ancient tree has
So
an aura
grab
of magic about it.
this scroll here. Head back. And then we can go to the stony field and open the stones up. So generally, this is something that you're going to be doing as the run is, or not a run, but you know, when you're playing the game and it's going on, you're going to be saving Kane just because you're a good person. I don't, because he eventually comes around anyways. He just charges you gold
I need mana.
later on, so it ends up not being a huge deal to just pay 100 gold every time you want him to identify something for you. But yeah, if you're a good person, you generally go in here and save Kane a little earlier. But we'll stop by now. So there he is. Claps for Kane, right? Hey. Beautiful. And, oh god, I threw my cube away, didn't I? Oh, that was a bad move. All right, let's go get another cube. How do you guys like that? Sounds exciting. Where is that? So generally, in a speedrun, I don't need a cube
I need
because I'm finished with it at that point. But you guys are so awesome that we have the cows now, and we need a cube for the cows. So we're gonna go do a little quick detour over here, and hopefully get a cube again.
Not enough mana.
And I really hope this is the way to get it again. It has. This is one of those things that you just like never do. Okay, yeah, there it is. We got cube. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and move towards the cows, if they exist, which is one of my favorite parts of the game. And this used to actually be in the Hell speedrun. We used to actually farm the cows for experience from level 20 to 25 because that was just the place to get it. But eventually, new strats did prevail, and they kicked the cows out, and we actually moved on to doing just farming in Act 3 down in that flare jungle where I talked about before. So when you morph together this fun recipe, you get a place that does not exist. That's right. Oh gosh. And they're actually extremely dangerous as well. They are actually extremely dangerous as well. They're giant cows with sides. And It is scary. So this is also kind of a nice thing that we got rid of it, because it was a great place to just go in and just get slaughtered. A little bit of, you know, reverse slaughtering action, I suppose, getting us back. See if any final donations there while we're just doing some cows. Go ahead. I'm sure there's a few moves in there at least.
No.
Stay alive.
No.
So I'm just looking at the chat because the chat is just saying moo all over. And it is just the most interesting thing I've seen in the chat.
So, you know, on Battle.net, or I guess also on single player, but there is a Cow King in the cow level, which we'll eventually move towards. And if you kill the Cow King, you can no longer spawn the secret cow level. And additionally, if anybody in your party kills the Cow King, you can also, everybody in that party can no longer spawn the secret cow level. And this was like one of those things where it was like, just a perfect moment for somebody to just be that guy, right? And so online, there was always that person that would get on, join the party, and then go kill the Cow King. And everybody else would get so mad because that was it. Your character could never make it again. You always had to wait for someone else to make it to go join up. So Blizzard had Diablo 2 has a few things like that where it's like, why would you implement it in this way? Like they used to also have trading of there's a charm called the Nihilist charm, and then Torch as well, and you had to drop it. You weren't allowed to put it in a trade window. So I think that was their way of being like, no trading, but they didn't actually have bind on pickup. So instead, people wanted to trade them, of course. So you would have to drop it on the ground and then like run around. So you'd like find a barrier in town. Each of you would drop it on the ground and you would run around and pick up the other one to trade. And you guys can, I'm sure you all can imagine how well that went over. It was really great. So they eventually added it to the trade window. But always made for some fun times. So at this point, I think Wahid might have one more job if he can survive. We'll have to go ahead and see.
Hello again.
'Cause I'm not going to be able to take him out at all. Wahid, you got this?
No.
Nope. Oh no. All right. Second chance, Wahid. I didn't have health potions for you. I'm sorry. It's my fault. I will try to protect you. Go, buddy, go. Clap for Wahid. He's doing it. He's doing it. It's the fight of his life, and it's done. And all of the milk has dropped from the cow. And that is Diablo 2. So thank you, everybody, for being here, for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the run. We had some fun. We had some deaths, you know, all intentional or something. It really is for a great cause. I appreciate everybody who has donated, you know, helping out everybody. We have a lot of people on the couch here as well who do a ton for charity. And it's such a good feeling, and it's so great. There are a lot of people that are less fortunate, that are in difficult positions, and for those of us that are able to help out, it's really awesome. And so I really appreciate it. So thank you, guys.
Great job, Mr. Llama, on your run of Diablo 2. Coming up next, oh my goodness gracious, you guys are going to have fun. It's going to be Resident Evil 2 by Bakava Soup. Definitely a run you do not want to miss. And once again, welcome to Games Done Quick Express. So just a heads up, we're just going to do a little bit of a reset on the stream. So stick around. We will be right back. Welcome back to Games Done Quick Express. We're going to go ahead and read just a little bit of few donations before I hand it over to a lovely man you guys will love to hear. I have a $100 donation from Earsquee that says, second GDQ I've seen. Keep it up. You are all awesome. $20 from Chrome Bison that says, do the thing. I don't know what the thing is. But sure. We have an anonymous $15 donation that says, hey, love the stream, long time watcher. Keep it up, guys. And an anonymous $25 donation that says, love what you guys do. And I think it's time for me to head out and hand this over to the lovely Spike Vegeta. So thank you guys for listening. I'll see you guys later. And Poyo! There you go. Your horrible Poyo of the night.
And hello, everyone, and welcome back to GDQx 2018, the inaugural GDQ event happening here at TwitchCon 2018. I am Spike Vegeta, and I would love nothing more than over the next 5 hours to be reading your donations throughout all these runs that I'll be doing. Do want to tell you guys that we are actually taking a last call here on Resident Evil 2. There is a Claire versus Leon bid war going on. It is currently, right now, Claire in the lead at $440 to Leon's $208. We're taking a final call right now. If you want to change what Bakba will be playing right now, get in those donations. We're going to give you another minute or two, and then we will be cutting those off. So would love nothing more than to read some big mama donations coming in here right at the end. To read a few donations, we have a $100 donation from Greenie179. Love to all the amazing folks, whether at TwitchCon or around the world, who are able to support others the best they can. Thank you so much, Greenie. Got a $22.33 donation from Unfamiliar Cornball. Thanks to Coltrane and Mr. Yama for the great runs leading up to Resident Evil. The wife and I have been playing through the Resident Evil series, and I'm excited to see what's possible speed-wise in the second game. Also, huge thanks to all the staff and runners staying up to keep this great event going throughout the night. You guys are amazing. No, Unfamiliar, you are amazing. Thank you for your generous donation. And with that, I believe we are going to be cutting it off. It looks like we will be playing the scenario of Claire here for Resident Evil 2. Thank you all so much for your donations, for all the money for that bid war. We'll remind you guys as we go through of a couple more of the bid wars and other incentives we got coming up throughout the last of our event. But it will be playing as Claire for the rest of the night.